Hey you guys, it's October, it's fall time, it's beautiful and cool and sunny. It's like the best time of year ever. And so it's also pumpkin season. So today we're talking about pumpkin 5 different ways. So let's get started. Okay, so we're doing pumpkin 5 ways. 3 of those ways are long-term storage, so you guys can stock your pantries for winter and be prepared in case there's another pumpkin puree shortage like there was last year. So what are the 3 ways we're talking about putting away pumpkins?
So the first way is we're just going to show you how to put away whole pumpkins. There's a specific process. It's very easy, one of the easiest ways. And then the second way is we are going to make pumpkin puree, and that'll be frozen. Then the third way is we are going to cube and can the pumpkin.
And then the other 2 ways that we're going to show you to use pumpkins today are 2 of our favorite recipes. One is super easy and it's savory, and that's going to be roasted veggies. We're going to eat that for lunch, so it's a good excuse to make it for you guys today. And then the second way is Grandma's delicious pumpkin cookies. They're one of our family favorites, and we know you guys are going to love them, and I need to make them for a party today. So yeah, let's get started.
So let's talk about storing whole pumpkins. This is probably the easiest way to store pumpkins, but there are a few little tips and tricks that you want to follow to make them store extra fresh, long term. So the first thing that you want to do is find your pumpkin. You want to find a nice firm pumpkin, one that doesn't have any squishy spots, like this one here kind of is squishy on the bottom. So we're going to turn this one into puree later. And no like blemishes or anything. This one looks pretty good. It's nice and firm. There's no punctures. So the first thing you're going to want to do is I have a paper towel, you could use a washcloth, and get some of the solution. And this solution is 1 tablespoon of bleach and 2 cups of water. And then you want to rub your pumpkin down with it and just wash it, including the stem, the bottom, all parts of it. This just helps to get rid of any fungus that could be on the pumpkin that could cause it to decay quicker than you would like. So yeah, just get everywhere on it. Make sure you get the stem. Okay, that one's completely coated, so you're just gonna set that one aside and let it sit for a little bit. I'm gonna do 2 pumpkins, so I'm gonna look for another one. And now I'm gonna get a dry paper towel and just go through and dry the pumpkins so that there's no residual moisture on there. And then when you store these, you're gonna want to place them on top of a box. Don't put them directly on wood or concrete, because as they store, they will sometimes weep out through the bottom. So it just helps protect your surface, and it also allows for airflow. So you're just gonna place your pumpkin in the box. I'm gonna do the same thing with the second one. And when you store these, you want to store these somewhere that is around 50 to 60 degrees. Don't put them in your fridge, that's too cold. It will cause them to go bad quick. So for us, a good place is in our basement, or for warmer climates, you could do it in a barn, in a garage, in a shed. I'm gonna go put these in the basement, and that is it. Now we're going to make pumpkin puree. That is our second way, and it is probably my favorite way just for convenience reasons. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove, here.
You stole my knife.
Remove the top.
I'm the assistant for this part. Though you have the sharper knife, I might say. Here, that's for you.
And then you're gonna cut it in half. We're not going to be removing the skin. That's why this is so easy. And the skin is one of the best parts of the pumpkin for you.
Yeah, there's no reason to lose all that nutrition at all. And also, for bonus material, which I didn't mention before, we're gonna show you guys how to toast up some pumpkin seeds too. So we're keeping all of this.
We have to scrape out the
Here,
pumpkin seeds.
we'll scrape.
I'll just
You
keep
cut.
it in the
Okay.
bowl. Now that we have our pumpkins cut and gutted, what we're going to do is just take our knives, and I'm gonna cut each of the halves into thirds. Just make sure you get off all the seeds.
Sorry. We're trying our best.
Even if you have these stringies in here, it's okay. It's all gonna get pureed down. You won't even know that they're there. And also, we're not removing the skin. It's staying on there. And actually, what we're going to be doing is putting them in a pressure cooker. So in the bottom of the pressure cooker, put a trivet in so there's no burning. And then just place your pumpkin slices in.
Some people roast these, right? But
Yeah.
we like to do it this way because it gets it really soft very quickly.
Yeah.
And it just saves you time and saves you energy into all of that.
Yeah, the only thing is when you do roast the pumpkins is you do have to remove the skins just because they don't cook down as well.
But when you do it like this, they do.
Yes.
So you're getting all the nutrition from the skin without any weird texture, anything like that, right?
Yeah. So to this pot, you're gonna add around a quart of water, just enough to keep it from burning. Put it on sealing, make sure it's not venting. And you're going to pressure cook. And I'm gonna pressure cook it for 10 minutes. And on high pressure. And that's it.
So while the first round's going, we can continue to cut and prepare the rest of these for the second round. Then we can get out the big pot and, go. Julianne will show you the next step, but we can do it all in one big pot when they're all done. And when this puree is complete, we use it for all sorts of things. These pumpkin cookies I'm going to show you today. Pies. Yeah.
Pies, cookies,
soups.
bread.
Yeah, you can use pumpkin puree in soups just like you would like butternut squash and different things like that. So there's lots of uses, including savory uses. It doesn't have to be all sweet treats and stuff. So.
Okay, this is done, and I'm just carefully going to release the steam. I'm using the knife because that's what's available. I'm just gonna carefully take these out. See, they're still partially intact, but everything's super soft and hot. So just take them out. I'm gonna put them into a large bowl so I can puree them later. And then I'm gonna get the next batch going. Okay, here, I'm gonna move this. Okay, now I'm gonna get my immersion blender. I'll use that in a second. First, I'm gonna just break it up as much as I can with the tongs or a spoon or whatever you're using. It's steamy. And it is very hot. All the skins are just breaking down though. It's all turning nice and mushy. Okay, now I'm going to carefully immersion blend this. Make sure you keep it all under all the puree. Don't lift it up and out of it. It's very hot and it will burn you. This part will probably take some time just because there's a lot in this bowl and it's super thick, which is perfect for puree. And if you don't have a stick blender, you could use a food processor, or you could just mash it by hand for a really long time, and that would also work. So this is done now. All I'm gonna do now at this point is just put it in, I'm gonna let it cool first actually, because it's too hot to go into bags. And then I'm gonna put it into like sandwich sized bags, lay them flat, put them in the freezer, and that is it. And I left this 100% pure pumpkin. There's no extra spices or anything in this, so it can be used both sweet and savory. So yeah, that's it. And you can see it's nice and thick.
It's beautiful color. I don't know if this, yeah, it's capturing. It's just beautiful, and it looks
steamy.
Better. Yeah, it's too hot to put up now, so she's got to wait till it cools. And it really doesn't take up very much space in the freezer at all, because she really does stack them tightly. And most recipes only call for 1 cup, 2 cups of pumpkins. So she puts how many cups in each bag?
I do the same as 1 can would be. So I do 2 full cups of pumpkin in a sandwich bag.
In a small Ziploc bag, and then freeze it so that it's super easy to use. But today you're gonna leave out 2 cups for me so I can make a double batch of pumpkin cookies. All right, those are gonna be good. All right, we're gonna talk about a bonus way to use something in the pumpkins anyway, and that's to use the seeds. I'm sure you guys have done this before, you've had this before, but just in case you haven't, we wanna teach you guys how to toast up these pumpkin seeds. I love them just roasted with salt, and so yeah, Tabitha's gonna help me. So what we're gonna do in step 1 is we're gonna take it and rinse it, put it in a colander and rinse it off real well, and then we're gonna put it in a big pot with some boiling water that has salt in it. That's how we're gonna get the salt inside the seeds to make them delicious and yummy. And yeah, so we'll talk through that. We've got, it's salt to taste. You're doing a high concentration of salt. I'm using probably about like 4 or 5 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of salt to get it real salty to get inside of here. All right, so let's go in the kitchen and get started. All right, so let's move these. All right, Tabs, we wanna separate all these stringy things, okay? Get these cleaned up, and then we'll put them over here on the paper towel. Okay, so you can get started. If it's too, we can do it on cool water, separates it from the strings pretty easily. So just take a handful, rinse them out. Here, we can do this first. This is a big chunk. Any of the chunks just set over there, we'll get those at the end, okay? Because those don't really matter. Feed those to the chickens. Okay, now we're gonna transfer these seeds to a boiling pot of water, which is heavily salted. Like I said, I estimated it's all to taste, so it doesn't really matter. You want them to be a little extra salty because you want the salt to get, you know, all around and inside of these pumpkin seeds to make them tasty. So now we're gonna transfer them to our pot of water. And like I said, I think 4 or 5 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of salt, and we're gonna, that should be sufficient. So, all right, let's do it. All right, these have been boiling between like 5 and 10 minutes. This is kind of a very loose recipe, you guys. You can do this, you can be flexible with it. So I'm gonna strain these out, strain out the salt water. It's nice and hot. My spoon. Okay, and I'm gonna do a quick dry on these. I have the oven preheating at 400 degrees, and I'm not gonna give you a time for how long you're gonna toast it. You're just gonna have to watch it because everybody's oven is different and you don't wanna burn them, so just watch it. You know, keep it at 400, and I'll let you know how long I let them go for when I'm done. But you just gotta make sure they get nice and crispy and toasted all the way through. It's really simple. Okay, I'm gonna put these in the oven and stir them occasionally until they're done. All right, our pumpkin seeds are done. They look beautiful and they're wonderfully toasted. I left them in, I think it was 20, 25 minutes, but I mean, like I said, you just watch it. I looked at it about every 5 minutes and kept stirring it. And like I said, there's only salt on here. I didn't put any oil, I didn't put any butter. Different recipes call for different things. But they're delicious. Just the right amount of salt. Don't need to add a thing. So there you go. Nice, easy snack. A little bit of work, but then we can all enjoy it. So, turned out real good.
The third way we're going to be storing pumpkins is we are going to be cutting and canning pumpkin. So I'm just going to remove the top, and then I'm going to cut it in half, gut it, and then I'm going to cube it in like 1 inch by 1 inch cubes. Jars.
So the process of skinning pumpkin is hard work. I want you guys to be prepared for that. It really helps if you've got a team effort. It goes very quickly when 2 people or 3 people are doing it. It's hard work, but you are not supposed to leave the skins on for the canning process. Now, Julianne, your preference for putting up pumpkin, let's talk about that.
My favorite way to put up pumpkin is definitely the puree. It's the most easy, most efficient, and it's just the most convenient too for when it comes to using it.
But we wanted to show you guys that you can do this. Now, it is not recommended, and this is important. Do not try to can pumpkin puree. You're just supposed to can pumpkin this way, in chunks. Kind of like mashed potatoes, right?
Yes,
You're not supposed to do mashed potatoes. You're supposed to do potato chunks minus the skins. Obviously, do your research. We always recommend ball canning as a safe resource when you're doing any kind of canning. But we just wanted to show you this option. And it's kind of nice when you're making a mess with pumpkin just to get all of this done in one day. But yes, it's so convenient to have that pumpkin puree ready to go in your freezer for anything that you want to use it for, whether it's a soup or cookies or pies. We already talked about all this, but it's really convenient. But this is an excellent way too. This doesn't take up freezer space at all. It's shelf steady and it lasts a long time. So, and this will get nice and soft, so it's super easy to turn into a puree.
Yeah, you just have to take a fork and mash it up before you throw it in a baked good or in anything like that.
So there's something to be said about that, not taking up freezer space. So.
And one of these jars, once it's completely done, is about the equivalent of a store-bought jar you would get. How many ounces is that? Like 16 ounces?
Yeah,
15 ounces?
15 point something.
It's about the same once you mash it down. I'm going to top each of these off with boiling water, and then I'm going to take my knife and just kind of work around the jars, try to get rid of all the little air bubbles, and then I'm going to wipe my rims with vinegar, and then put on my lids and throw it into my Presto canner.
Good estimate, you were right on. She's so smart. And we're gonna do it, she said this already, but in the Presto digital canner on the pressure canning setting. And we are gonna follow ball recommendations for our canning. And yeah, so you're gonna do the just boiling water.
Yep, just boiling water.
You don't need to put anything else in it?
No.
Okay.
And I am going to be putting this in here for 100 minutes.
So it takes a long
time.
All right, the fourth way we're gonna use pumpkin today is in a savory dish that we really all enjoy, and this is roasted veggies. And we even use this for just dinner sometimes, and then have homemade bread and fruit and just call it dinner. But the best thing about this dish is you can use any veggies that you guys have in the house, anything that your kids will eat, anything your husband will eat, any of those things. You can put any combination that you want. So I'll talk through what I'm doing, but Julianne, we are adding pumpkin, obviously, to this recipe. I'm gonna let it roast up and get all delicious. What are you gonna do to the pumpkin?
I've already removed the top. I'm gonna cut this in half. And then I'm gonna gut it. I'm gonna get rid of all the seeds.
And like I said, you can use any kind of veggies you want in this recipe. Just remember that if it is a vegetable that cooks more quickly, make it into bigger chunks, like these red peppers, because they're gonna they're gonna bake very quickly. Where like my sweet potato is gonna take a long time, the pumpkin's gonna take a long time. I'm gonna put those, cube those into small cubes. And it's just fun to make this colorful, to make it, it's just perfect for cold days, and it's just a fun recipe. So yeah, for today we're gonna use fresh pumpkin, red bell pepper, Brussels sprouts, sweet potato, broccoli, cauliflower, and some onions. And then I'll show you the process in just a minute when I'm done chopping everything. All right, we've got all of our veggies chopped up. Julianne finished the pumpkin, and we're gonna add that in. And yeah, I'm making it really full because they do cook down. So I know it looks crazy, but so I have all the veggies in here. We are gonna add a good drizzle of olive oil, and then I'm gonna toss it, but we're gonna do this first. I'm gonna add a good portion of olive oil, as well as salt and pepper. You guys didn't get to see it, but I'll tell you what, the onion that is in here just kicked my behind. I'm still recovering. It was the strongest onion I have ever cut. All right, so now we're just gonna toss it. I know I'm gonna lose some, I'll put them back in. And when this is in the oven, I will toss it from time to time in the oven. Like I said, it'll cook down, so it won't be as troublesome. I don't know, every 15 minutes or so, I'll give it a stir. And you're gonna want, even though this is a super simple dish, you're gonna wanna leave yourself an hour and a half. Every oven's different, it depends on what veggies you're using, but we like it nice and toasty, and it caramelizes the veggies and makes them really good. So we want them to have plenty of time to cook. We've got all of our veggies in here. It looks great. My oven is at 500 degrees, and I'm gonna watch it. I'm just gonna watch it. So, and I love my cast iron. All right. Also, because we only used half of a fresh pumpkin, we're also gonna roast this at the same time. Put a drizzle of butter, and then when it comes out, we'll put some maple syrup on top. So, all right, let's get these in the oven. All right, our veggies are hot off the press. They look beautiful. We love them to get kind of crispy on the edge. If you guys are not crispy people, then you could totally take them out earlier. They were done a while ago. But we like the nice crispy veggies, and on the bottom it gets crispy, and it smells and looks amazing. The pumpkin and the sweet potato give it a beautiful orange color. The red just pops. It's a beautiful dish, and it's warm and cozy, and we really enjoy it, and I hope you guys will too. All right, you guys, last but not least, these are the best pumpkin cookies you will ever try. Just my opinion. But you're really gonna wanna try this recipe. This is my mother-in-law's recipe, and it's really one of our favorites. I'm not just saying that. I put stuff up here that we actually do. So this is really good. But today I have a party that I'm going to. I'm making a double batch because you guys are just living real life with us today. I'm making a double batch, but I'm gonna tell you the measurements as I do it for a single batch because that's what most people would do on a regular basis. So, all right, Mom's pumpkin cookies. Here we go. Step one, we are going to get our KitchenAid mixer, and we're gonna take a half cup of shortening and put that in our mixer, and we're gonna cream that alone for a minute. Wow, that was loud. We're gonna cream that, my hands are slippery. Alone, just breaks down the shortening, gets it ready to mix into the other ingredients better. All right, to this, I'm gonna open this back up. We are going to add 1 cup of brown sugar. and 1 cup of that delicious pureed pumpkin that Julianne made fresh today. This is gonna be so good. Okay, so we are gonna cream these ingredients together again. Let them get incorporated. I'm gonna go slow at first, then I'll come back and put it on high speed. All right, we're gonna cream it on high now. Gonna scrape the edges. And the texture of these cookies, I'm gonna tell you, is more of a cakey cookie, which I am a big fan of. I'm not really much of a crispy cookie person, so these are right up my alley. All right. All right, I'm gonna turn that down and we're gonna add 1 egg. Remember, I'm doubling this for my own personal use, but for your single recipe, 1 egg. All right, I don't want to overbeat the eggs, but I want to make sure they're in there. Okay. Now let's start with some of our dry ingredients. All right, good. This is how we store flour. Here. We use it a lot, so this is just part of the deal. All right, now we're gonna add 2 cups of flour. Okay, we've got our 2 cups of flour getting all incorporated. All right, we're gonna let that get a little bit mixed in first. It's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna scrape the sides, make sure we're getting all the stuff, all the flour mixed in. Let that get all incorporated. Okay, we're gonna let this keep going while we incorporate our baking powder, all right? And you are gonna need 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt. I do not, unlike my daughter, I do not measure my salt over the bowl, just in case. So 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon baking soda. All right, we're gonna let this get mixed in, and then we are gonna move on to our spices, which is what makes these cookies so good. I'm gonna scrape the sides real quick. It's a beautiful pumpkin color, and the spices are just gonna make it even better. Marie's trying to get a lick out of the bowl as we speak. Okay. I'm gonna go wash my hands, come right back. All right, now we're gonna move on to our spices. Now don't be shocked at this. You're gonna put in 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. Yes, you are. You're gonna get your fill of cinnamon in these cookies. All right, our cinnamon is all mixed in. All right, now we are going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. It smells so good, you guys. All right. All right, so there's our nutmeg. Next, I'm reading my recipe so I don't mess it up. Next, we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves and a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. And then finally for our spices, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. I mean, you can't go wrong with all these things, you guys. You know, it just screams fall. So good. Okay. We'll let this get all mixed in. Okay, so we have all of our delicious spices in there. My house smells amazing. It's like very fragrant in my nose right now. Now for the final step here, we're gonna add, you can have some variation with this. One thing you absolutely cannot leave out is the vanilla, because that would be anti-McElroy. So we're gonna put in 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Okay, there's that. And then you can put chopped nuts in here, but my kids prefer that I don't, but it's really good with like a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. I'm just saying, it's delicious, but because I'm making it for the kiddos, I'm not gonna do that today. But my kids do like the raisins in this. So I'm gonna get into my raisins, and I am going to add a cup of raisins. But yeah, if you have the nuts and the raisins together, it's really good. You can actually leave the raisins out too. We have done that many times as well if someone doesn't like them, but my kids all like them. But these are just extras. You can add all sorts of things if you want. All right, now I'm gonna turn this on really slow and just get that mixed in, and then our cookies are ready to go on the pan and into the oven. Okay, our batter is done and it looks beautiful. It's gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it in camera world, but it's beautiful and it's ready to go in our pans. The oven is already preheated to 375 degrees. I've got my pans here. They are greased and ready to go. And I'm gonna use my little cookie drop spoon to drop them. And we're gonna fill up these pans and then bake them for between 8 to 12 minutes. Just watch them. You don't want them to be overdone and dry out. So depending on how your oven bakes, just keep an eye on them, but between 8 and 12 minutes, all right? Okay, first batch is done. Both pans, I ended up leaving it in for 12 minutes this first time, but I'm gonna keep watching it. These look great. Like I said, they're very puffy and cakey and delicious. And this is so good with like a cup of cider or a hot cup of coffee. And yeah, so I know everyone's gonna enjoy it at the party tonight. So anyway, I'm gonna keep on getting these in the oven until we've used up all the batter. And then we'll be done. All right, you guys, there you have it, pumpkin 5 ways. We hope you enjoyed this video. I know my house smells awesome, and we were able to bake some yummy recipes and put some stuff down in our stockpile in the freezer and in the basement, so that's always a good thing. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.